helicopter flies too close to U.S. Navy destroyer. Big mistake. At 10:50 local time, an Iranian Navy helicopter approached the USS Fitzgerald, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, with a simple mission: force the American warship to change course. The intent was clear: send a message that Iran still controls these waters. But what followed exposed not power, but weakness. The U.S. destroyer, packed with the most advanced technology on the planet, was about to face off with a relic from another era. The encounter begins. Inside the Fitzgerald's Combat Information Center, CIC, sailors monitored the radar screens. The ship's SPY-1D Aegis radar, designed to track ballistic missiles in space, now focused on a helicopter that looked more like a flying museum piece than a threat. The Iranian crew wanted intelligence, propaganda, and the illusion of dominance. But what they didn't realize was that every move they made, every radar pulse they emitted, was being recorded, analyzed, and stored. The Fitzgerald didn't flinch. The destroyer wasn't some merchant ship from the 1980s tanker wars. It was a 9,000-ton war machine with nearly 90 vertical launch cells, each capable of firing SM-2, SM-3, or Tomahawk missiles. Its Aegis system could track over 100 targets simultaneously, calculating dozens of firing solutions within seconds. Against this backdrop, a 1970s-era Iranian helicopter had virtually no chance. A digital fingerprint. As the helicopter closed in, the SLQ-32 electronic warfare suite on the Fitzgerald came alive. This system works like a digital fingerprint collector, capturing every radar emission, radio frequency, and pulse pattern from the intruding aircraft. For the Americans, this wasn't a threat, it was an opportunity. Every signal would be cataloged, giving U.S. forces an edge in future encounters. For the Iranians, though, it was a different story. Their helicopter, a vintage SH-3 Sea King variant bought before the 1979 revolution, was showing its age. Warning lights flickered on the control panel. The cyclic stick vibrated from worn rotor bearings. The engines, decades past their prime, guzzled fuel just to keep up with the destroyer's 30-knot speed. At best, they had 45 minutes on station, both engines held together. The tactical mismatch. The Aegis computer already had 47 different ways to destroy the helicopter. An SM-2 missile, traveling at Mach 3.5, would end the encounter in less than a minute. The Phalanx CIWS, capable of firing 4,500 rounds per minute, could shred the helicopter in seconds if it ever crossed the point defense perimeter. To the Fitzgerald's crew, tracking the aircraft was like using a supercomputer to play tic-tac-toe. Yet Iran pressed forward. Flying low over the waves, the helicopter tried to mimic an aggressive attack profile, classic harassment tactics. The pilot's radio crackled. "American warship, you are approaching Iranian territorial waters. Change course immediately." The Fitzgerald's communications team recorded everything. Their response, calm, professional, and in a subtle jab, delivered by a female sailor. It wasn't just a reply, it was psychological warfare, intelligence goldmine. Meanwhile, the intelligence team was thrilled. The Iranians were transmitting on unencrypted civilian frequencies, some as basic as 121.5 MHz and 243.0 MHz, emergency channels from the Cold War era. No encryption, no hopping, no security. The Fitzgerald's EW team logged it all, building a database that would allow American jammers to shut down these frequencies instantly in future confrontations. Through Link 16, a secure data link network, the destroyer shared this intelligence with every nearby American asset from cruisers to carriers, creating a real-time common picture of the engagement. If this had been a shooting war, the Iranian helicopter would have been destroyed 6 different ways before it ever crossed into range. A desperate display. Inside the helicopter, the Iranian crew was struggling. Fuel gauges dropped rapidly. Oil pressure fell into the red zone. The engines wheezed like retirees climbing a staircase. Yet orders were orders. They were told to confront the American destroyer, to show the world Iran's strength. From the Fitzgerald's deck, sailors barely paid attention. One even waved at the low-flying helicopter, treating it like a tourist attraction. The insult stung more than any missile could. The Iranian pilot tried again. "This is your final warning. Change course now." His voice cracked with desperation. On board the Fitzgerald, no one took it seriously. The destroyer was already preparing for a routine navigational turn, one that had nothing to do with the helicopter. But when the ship adjusted course, Iranian state media would later twist the footage into a manufactured victory. Propaganda versus reality. Within hours, Iranian television would broadcast grainy clips of the helicopter flying close to the American destroyer, claiming the U.S. Navy had been forced to retreat. Dramatic music and bold captions would frame it as proof of Iranian dominance in the Gulf. The reality? The Fitzgerald never saw the helicopter as a real threat. For the Americans, it was just another intelligence haul Christmas morning for electronic warfare officers. The tactical mismatch was overwhelming. The Fitzgerald had 3 layers of defense: SM-2 missiles at long range, ESSM missiles at medium range, and the failing CIWS for close-in threats. The Iranian helicopter couldn't even cross the outer perimeter. It was like trying to storm a fortress while stuck in the parking lot. The exit, with their fuel gauges sinking and alarms flashing across the cockpit, the Iranian pilots knew the standoff couldn't continue much longer. Every second in the air drained what little reserves they had left, and pushing further risked losing an aircraft to mechanical failure rather than enemy fire. Reluctantly, they eased off their aggressive maneuvers and pulled back into safer airspace. Over the radio, however, the message sounded very different. The crew declared that the American warship had retreated, framing their withdrawal as a victory to be broadcast back home. In Tehran, carefully edited footage would soon roll across state media, painting the encounter as proof of Iran's defiance against the United States. For the regime, the appearance of triumph was often more valuable than the reality. On board the USS Fitzgerald, though, there was no sense of drama. The sailors logged the encounter as they had countless others, professional, calm, and without fanfare. For them, this wasn't a duel of equals, but another reminder that outdated technology and political theater cannot stand against the unmatched discipline and capability of the U.S. Navy. What Tehran hailed as glory was, for the crew at sea, simply another line in the daily report. In the end, the encounter wasn't really a clash of strength. It was a battle of narratives. Iran risked sending an aging helicopter into harm's way, not to win militarily, but to craft a moment of theater for its domestic audience. For them, the footage mattered more than the facts, a story of defiance carefully shaped for the cameras. The U.S. Navy, on the other hand, walked away with something far more valuable than headlines. Every maneuver, every radio call, and every technical detail was recorded, studied, and added to the growing library of intelligence on Iranian tactics. Far from being rattled, the Fitzgerald's crew demonstrated calm professionalism, a quiet reminder of why American destroyers remain unmatched in both capability and discipline. If you found this story gripping, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from the world's oceans. And stay tuned, because the next encounter at sea may reveal even more about the thin line between power and desperation.